Hey, what's up there, Internet? Troy to the Max, Extreme here.
And Ghost Hunter Dave.
And together, we dodge acidy spit as Imperius Rex.
Every other day, it seems like. Happy Alien Day.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, April 26th, year of our Lord, 2021.
Yeah.
Christened, of course, for the name of the moon in which the xenomorphs are initially discovered in the 1979 feature film, LV 426.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name of the moon, not the film. The film, of course, is Alien.
Yes.
Apparently, the unofficial start of Alien Day was 2015. A couple of guys in New York just made it up.
Pretty recent.
Yeah, that's what
makes sense why I've never heard of it before that.
Oh yeah, as far as bullshit holidays go, this is one. This is absolutely one.
Yeah, awesome.
But I've been wanting to read some of these Alien books that I've had on my shelves for a while, and I thought, let's make this excuse to kind of be timely on the one thing that literally doesn't matter. There's amazing comic book news dropping all the time.
Right.
We're going to double down on aliens this year.
You better believe it.
We're living our best lives out here in space. We are going to take a look at some of these Dark Horse publications because they are the publisher that held the rights to Aliens from the 80s up until this year.
Yep.
Until Marvel got their grubby little mitts on them.
Mickey's little paws all over them.
Yeah. So Troy, just right off the bat, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, why don't you let me know, just give me a sneak peek. What are your thoughts of the Aliens franchise in general?
Okay. I very recently have just watched all of the Aliens movies. The quadrilogy.
For your show.
For
the
other
show.
review podcast. We did it probably a year ago, so it's not super recent.
I think I joined you for the Aliens one.
Yeah, you did. And then I've watched Prometheus and all the other gobbledygook that came after. I'm hot and cold on the movie franchise.
Okay.
I would say mostly cold.
Yeah.
But it does start really strong, and I have fond things to say about certain aspects of the future movies, but not them as wholes. But H.R. Geiger's a hell of an artist.
Oh my. That creature design for these things, you cannot dispute. It is one of the most visually impressive and erotic creatures in pop culture.
I'm horny just thinking about it.
I'm amazed when I just see toys of aliens around and they're they don't have to put that in a black bag or anything. Put those behind the counter. It is literally a walking dick.
For real, it is.
2 dicks, actually. The second mouth dick.
And the point that's a rated R franchise. I'm just give these to kids. Why not?
It's like Freddy Krueger just became a doll for kids in the 80s too. You realize he was a pedophile, right?
Yeah.
And then he murdered him.
That's right.
I don't know which is worse.
I don't know, but you can get that sweet glove on Halloween.
Oh, God.
Good glove and fedora combo.
But Troy, we're not here to talk about the Aliens movies.
Nah.
We're here to talk about these comics.
Yes.
But before we do that, I'd like to talk a little more about the movie.
Okay.
Aliens, the 1986 sequel, is what I would call a formative movie for my youth.
Yep.
This was one that, I knew of aliens, as we said. They're pop culture phenomenons. Everyone out there is get to the fucking comics. Give me a second! This is important to me!
We're laying groundwork here.
That's right. We gotta put down the tracks before we can veer off them later. So, I was probably in 3rd grade, and we had our local mom and pop video store. They never had the Aliens movies, though. So somehow it always escaped me. I grew up on Predator, so that was my sci-fi baddie. But I knew of Aliens. Then one fateful day, I made a trip to the local library, and they would get a rotating selection of VHS tapes. And they had, lo and behold, Aliens. I was like, I'm going to see what this Aliens thing's all about. Rented it, took it home, watched it. I was glued to my seat.
Yes.
Just as if I was covered in that gross excretion that the aliens secrete.
Stick you to the wall.
I was cobwebbed to my couch. And I loved it. I was captivated by this movie. Loved everything about it. The creatures, the Marines, all of it. Just hit me at the right sweet spot.
Yep.
So I renewed this, I returned it, I rented it again, no one else on my block could watch Aliens for months. I made 8 22-page comics.
Uh-huh.
Where I sat there and drafted up these storylines,
Uh-huh.
expanding on the Aliens universe.
Wow.
Because I couldn't get my hands on these sweet books yet.
Right.
There was
Dark Horse put a cease and desist.
That's right. Yeah. Strangely enough, I have no idea where they went. I think somebody just they put some red tape around there, and then they were never seen again. Also, there was a toy line made out of these. As we said, Aliens are for kids.
Yep.
And that came out like it came out in 93, which seems like a very long gap between the movies.
Yeah.
But 93 was when Alien 3 came out, so
Okay.
I guess they were hoping to like drum up some interest in a movie that is very not toy friendly at all.
I would say that movie is just not very friendly to moviegoers
No.
at all. That one's my least favorite by far, but continue.
It had a troubled production, I hear.
So, yeah.
But I got into these, and I remember like shopping around at like the local K&B Toys, and you'd go and look through their clearance aisles, and they had like some of these old Aliens toys, and I was like, holy shit, I'm ready for Aliens now,
Yeah.
let me get them.
Yeah.
But there was only a handful of them, like just a couple of the Aliens themselves, as I've sprinkled throughout my my room here. That was one of the original ones I got.
I had this one at my house.
Did ya?
I did.
There's some great ones there. I've got the snake alien precariously hidden behind you.
Got
Life-size face hugger there. So I was getting these, buying them up where I could, and looking on the back of the box and seeing all these ones that were just out of my grasp, and just praying to get me some of these Aliens figures. And then the stars aligned, because for whatever reason that year, they did like this anniversary, and they re-released a bunch of them in these 2-packs around Christmas.
Oh, really?
So I got a ton of the Marines. They're just hanging out here chilling. Like the 2-pack with the King alien, all this stuff. My excitement level on Christmas morning, coming downstairs, opening up that first package and seeing Corporal Hicks fighting the King alien, I secreted all over again. Everyone was stuck to the couch that Christmas. So it was just like, it was a holy grail for me. And even better, like, they all came with these little tiny mini comics.
Oh, shit.
That, like, they just look like a tube of chapstick all rolled up there. You open them up, and they're just these goofy little adventures of the Space Marines fighting the aliens. But I spent so much time, like, analyzing these and drawing from them and all that shit. So I had a couple of these, and I could never get my hands on them outside of buying them from the original toys. Apparently, Marvel is releasing an omnibus collecting all those original Alien stories from Dark Horse, and these are going to be included in it for the first time ever. So that got my money right there. I'm pumped for that. I think it should be coming out in a couple weeks, actually.
Okay.
So I'm going to get that, and it also includes a couple of the stories that we're going to be talking about on this show. But, yeah, that was just... I just had to get that off my chest. It's a window into the life of early David.
Yeah.
He was very into his alien. It was probably a problem in my household.
Yeah. Your mom just walked in again. Ugh.
God, he's secreting David. Use a tissue. Another reason that the toys came out in that weird in-between stage between the films was they were hoping to launch a children's cartoon called Operation Aliens.
Great.
And that's what all of these like redesigns of the characters were in conjunction with, but wouldn't you know it, didn't get off the ground.
So, that was Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
When did you fill in the gaps?
Oh, that's a great question. It had to be years later, because I don't think I had any interest in anything other than Aliens. That was just like the perfect movie for me. But then I remember like going to like Media Play or one of those like Sam Goody type stores.
Sure.
And buying the boxed VHS set of Aliens, and Alien 3.
Mm-hmm.
And going home and being like, oh my god, I'm going to be in store for something great. And I watched the first one and I was like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
And then I probably watched the second one like 3 or 4 times. And then I watched the third one and I just remember feeling crushed and that like I was probably gonna cry. Like I remember being angry that I spent money on the box set when I was like, all I enjoy out of this is Aliens. These things are hindering my enjoyment of Aliens. But I've since grown to appreciate them. I would say as an adult, I like the first one on par with the second. Maybe even better depending on the day.
Yeah.
In Alien 3, I've just acknowledged as a weird kind of troubled movie that does a couple things, a couple interesting choices.
Yep.
I like that they brought it back to more like the small-scale horror.
Yep.
But it also had, as we said, a lot of problems with it as well.
Yes.
The biggest one being it killed off like my favorite characters as a kid.
Yeah, off
like,
screen.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just rattled me.
Yeah. But they do something in 3. They show that, at least I think that's where they first introduce it, where you see that the alien, whatever host they take, it takes that form.
Yeah.
Where what ox or dog or whatever.
Depends which cut you
Yeah.
watch.
Right. So there's that.
That was an early David Fincher movie, too.
Yeah.
It was his first.
Right. Yeah.
And he, like, walked off it, too. Like, removed his name from it. So I don't even know if you could call it his first.
But I'm with you with... I didn't see any of them in full up until, like, I was 30-something. Right?
Really?
I've seen chunks of them.
We had very different childhoods.
Well, I saw a lot of Terminator and RoboCop, so
Yeah.
I'm just over here.
You're more the machine-centric.
Yeah. But I really enjoy the first one. And then the second one, because I had really no nostalgia for it, I'm like, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I see where it ramped up and got as popular as it did, but I still think I like the horror suspense of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4 I used to see on TV all the time, but I always saw it where that alien got sucked through the window at the end.
Oh, that weird outie of a belly button getting sucked out that air. That little hole.
I don't know why I always saw that, but it was always on TV.
That is such a weird movie. I feel like
But
I
it's
have to revisit
so
it every...
campy.
I know, that's the problem. Like, there is a good movie in it, I think, but it's just littered with terrible Joss Whedon scripts.
Yeah, I think... Oh, I forgot that Joss Whedon did it.
Yeah.
Regardless, I like it because it is campy. I'm more on the camp side of, like, loving stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't always win in my favor. And then later on, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, I can take them or leave them. Mostly leave them.
Yeah, I do appreciate the fact that they go a different direction with it. I'm not huge on the engineers, but I think they're necessary to get us to the humans creating the androids, which I think is one of the most interesting offshoots of the Aliens franchise.
Yes.
Because, as we'll get into, I'm sure, with the books, the Alien plotline is pretty one-note.
Yes!
And them bringing in, like, the android David, I think, is one of the most interesting facets of that universe.
I agree wholeheartedly. That is the most interesting parts of both of those movies.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it just breaks its own continuity and is just not really all that interesting.
No,
a lot of dumb people in these movies.
I keep feeling like, okay, they're gonna get to it. Like, they left enough room after Prometheus that they can still tie these together, and then they do this other one, and I'm like, I think there's still room. I don't know. I feel like they're overstepping
right now. Yeah.
There's no way they're gonna make this all mesh up and lock together. But Troy, we're not here to talk about alien movies.
We have been.
Well, we're doing it wrong. We're here to talk about the comics.
Yes.
But before we do that, I think it would be interesting if we revisit this, not Aliens, but these movies that really, like, formed our personalities from childhood.
Yeah,
I even thought of a little name. We'll call it Formative Flicks. Flicks with an X, like Rex.
Got it.
With a normal X.
Right.
Because I would love to get, like, a diagram of all of us and just, like, section it out to see how much of our personality has been formed by, like, RoboCop.
That's
like,
a great idea.
At least a full leg of RoboCop.
That's a great idea.
My entire upper body is Predator and Aliens. You know, I think that would be interesting, and we'll try to tie them in with some of the comic offshoots, of which there are plenty. One of them being RoboCop, which we have had on the docket for quite a while to cover.
Yes.
So, I think that would be a lot of fun. But
I'm into it.
Aliens is a big one for me, so we're going to kick it off with that.
Okay.
Also kicking it off, these nice new shoes. Got them on Instagram. Couldn't tell you where, but I got them because they look like Wolverine. But enough about shoes. We need to talk about the Aliens comic.
Yes.
So, let's kick it off with this. I guess you would call this the first Aliens comic. Alien, the illustrated story, released the same year as the film debuted. It's a full adaptation, only it was scripted, the comic, not the movie, adapted by Archie Goodwin and illustrated by Walter Simonson, which, pretty good team right there.
Yeah.
And this was published in heavy metal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't say that anywhere on this. I think the rights must have been sold to Titan Books, it looks like, but apparently it was originally published in Heavy Metal Magazine, which we have an episode coming out soon.
Format.
Yeah, yep, we've got a Heavy Metal episode coming out. Look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it after I read some of these other ones, so it was just like, oh yeah, I know this story.
Mm-hmm.
It's recognizable. It's a fast, lean adaptation of the movie. It follows the script and the movie that we all know and love very closely, but it gives you a couple little offshoots, or maybe you see something from a slightly different perspective. But overall, it reminds you why Alien is so good.
Yes.
You know, the creature's cool, the pacing, everything's great. I recently saw the movie, if we can get back on the movie for a second. 2 years ago, they did the anniversary of the first one, the 30th anniversary, and I had a chance to see it in the theater. And it was amazing. It was almost like seeing it for the first time again.
Wow. And
I've seen it so much, you know, but like watching it in a big, like, theater environment was so cool. It really made me take notice of, like, the sound design.
Oh, yeah,
and all that. And even though, like, everybody knows everything about Alien, like, I probably knew the chestburster stuff before I even saw the first Aliens thing. But, like, watching it in that environment was almost like seeing it for the first time again. Cool. It was very cool. So on that note of seeing something for the first time, another book that we took a look at was just that. It was the original screenplay, the Dan O'Bannon, I believe, 5-issue adaptation of his original screenplay for the movie Alien, which, not too different than what we got. Barely worth mentioning, I suppose. But I thought it was interesting that Dark Horse put this out. Maybe it was purely a cash grab. They knew that the rights were expiring, and they're like, let's get one more in.
We need to get some in.
Yeah. But I like the idea that, you know, you could take a look at what was originally planned and to, like, see the franchise from fresh eyes, like trying to distance yourself from all the really notable aspects of it, like the look of the alien and the facehugger and all that. But unfortunately, what I discovered was, since Alien, any monster movie in space just feels like an Alien ripoff. Yeah. So by taking Alien out of Alien, it just feels like an Alien ripoff. Like, it's kind of a lose-lose no matter what way you look at it. Like, I appreciate it's an interesting idea to do it, but ultimately it just made me, like, want the regular Alien.
Just give me Alien.
Yeah. Yeah, like, the art was really nice. I liked the design of the creatures and all that, but overall it was like, yeah, you know, we've seen this many times. Also kind of interesting, this was the last Alien book that Dark Horse published before they sent it off to the House of the Mouse. So it was kind of fitting, I suppose. It should also be noted that Dark Horse did something similar to the Aliens 3 original screenplay, too, where they did a full adaptation of one of the many screenplays that didn't make it into the final form, I guess. We talked that this had a troubled production. I think there was all kinds of different ideas for what direction this was going to go. One of them was a planet entirely made of wood, apparently. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Who cares?
Yeah. Why is this a talking point in an Alien film?
That is going to bother me for a long time.
You can look it up to get more specific details, or you can just let it linger in the back of your mind like that. But they did something similar to this. They released it in another nice hardcover. I think it was 5 issues. Yeah. The Alien 3 one was vastly different than what we got. Sure. But it's still Alien. Yeah. The artwork was great. Everything else, serviceable. Yeah. But again, interesting that they did it. Okay. It made me really want them to do more of these things, like with properties that we didn't get like a version of or like a sequel. Number one being, I would love Dark Horse to release an adaptation of Del Toro's Hellboy 3 script. Okay. You know, like, how does that not happen? Like, they've pretty much decided they're not going to do it. Yeah. You know? Like, I think before that, there was always hope, you know. I think it's dead in the water. Right. Like, how cool would it be if they did this huge, like, you know, 12-issue mini of Del Toro's Hellboy 3? Get Mignola on the covers, you know, get some really good artists on there. That would be a blast.
That's a great idea.
I bet they won't do it. And
Probably
if they
not.
do, I bet I don't get the credit for it. Ghost Hunter Dave presents Guillermo del Toro's Mike Mignola's Hellboy 3.
I would love that.
I would too. And then one more I wanted to talk about here. We're going to back from Alien 3 to Aliens, that weird in-between period.
Okay.
Because Dark Horse launched their Aliens comic series with a follow-up to the Aliens movie.
Okay.
And I think this was 88,
Okay.
I believe. So this is what kicked off the Aliens comic universe.
Okay.
Just simply titled Aliens.
Sure.
I think they went back and retroactively gave it a subtitle, but it was initially just Aliens.
Okay.
So this whole thing was written by Mark Verheiden, and he was joined by a slew of different artists. The first one was a Mark Nelson, who did a really, really good, it was definitely a 80s black and white kind of gritty look, but it just felt perfectly at home in the Aliens universe. The second one was a bit more painted look to it.
Okay.
And it ranged from good to serviceable.
Okay.
And then, unfortunately, as it wrapped up, Sam Keith was the one that they brought in to do the last arc.
Yeah.
And it is just appalling. And, I generally kind of like Sam Keith, but this one, to say he phoned it in is a disservice to phones.
Oh, wow!
It is unbelievable. It starts off, and it's, all of it looks at home in the Aliens universe. The atmosphere and the tone is right on.
Right.
And then it just goes into full-on, super cartoony Sam Keith aesthetic.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, it looks like he just submitted thumbnails that he sketched up.
Really?
I don't want to, just rip on someone's work, especially a highly acclaimed artist like that. But, take a look at the difference between some of these pages and tell me that maybe there's a looming deadline, but, someone should have come in here and done some finishes, because it is hot trash.
Wow!
Artwork aside, the storyline is kind of interesting. It takes place 10 years after the events of Aliens, and when we say Aliens, we mean the second movie.
Correct.
It follows Hicks, Newt, and Ripley eventually makes an appearance, and gives you the usual scientists and military guys trying to take the alien for some bioweapon, you know?
Sure.
It also introduces a weird cult, a death cult on Earth that's worshiping them, and they want to just bring in the aliens. I think they're this deity.
Okay.
Eventually, the aliens do make their way to Earth. They completely overrun it, and they have to close down Earth. They're like, Earth's closed. Go around the back.
I would love to see just a picture of Earth with a big sign on the front of it. It said closed.
Not accepting visitors. So, the whole planet's overrun. There's kind of an interesting parallel back to the Newt's early days, because on Earth, there's a father and a daughter that are transmitting recordings into space, asking for help, and it's this little blonde girl that looks a lot like Newt. Okay. So that over the course of this whole trilogy, she's like, we need to go down and save this girl. And eventually they do make their way down there. They save her, and then they come up with a couple kind of interesting mythos that they add to the aliens, and one of them is that all of the drone aliens are telepathically linked to the Queen.
Okay.
So they're able to capture the Queen on her homeworld, dump her on Earth, all the aliens go, and then they just basically nuke Earth.
Okay.
And they also introduce the space jockey years and years before they expand on it in Prometheus as the engineers, and he's just another weird, almost godlike creature that is after the aliens for revenge. Okay. For what it did to his friend, I guess. Right. And then by the end you find out, actually he just wanted to wipe the aliens out because they want to take over Earth. These space jockey guys. So there's a couple new interesting wrinkles. All right. We got a lot of the same with the scientists and all that, which is my least favorite part of any alien thing. It's I think they should know by now, you can't turn these things into weapons. Mm-hmm. Give it a try, see how it works out for you. But it won't. Nope. Nope. But overall, it was a solid expansion on what we enjoyed from that film. It was a bummer that it ended artistically the way that it did. Uh-huh. And it's funny because when Alien 3 came out and they had to say okay, these movies are the Alien canon. Yeah. When they reprinted these issues, they changed the names of Hicks and Newt to Billy and Wilkes. Even though they look just the same and they're talking about all this stuff that they did, but they had to be different characters because Hicks and Newt, we learned, died between movies.
I always find that odd when a book can't have a different continuity than. I think that'd be fun to keep track of what's going on over here and just compare and contrast them.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, not everybody has that same point of view. Anybody who loves continuity, which I can take or leave sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if modern films have taught us anything, the audience is just thirsting for multiverses right now, and that seems to be where all the studios are directing their assets.
Yeah.
So we're going to be burnt out of that, I'm sure. And then we're going to be aching for that Alien 3 continuity. Bring back Wilkes and Billy. It's funny, too, because in my formative years, when I was looking for my Alien fix, I remember going to Toys R Us. And remember when they used to, bundle comics? Just random comics?
Yeah.
There was one that it was one of these Aliens issues. And it had this awesome-looking Aliens cover. And I bought it. I need that. I remember taking it home and opening it up. And I was almost shocked by how adult it was. Uh-huh. And it's not anything awful, but at that age I was oh, there's some blood and they're swearing. They're saying damn and bitch in this.
Always.
They say bitch a lot in this. And I felt guilty. I was should I have this? Let alone the fact that I've seen all the Aliens movies many times, but the fact that there was physical evidence of it here, I'm
you'll read it up in your room under your
blanket. I don't know if I'm ready for this. But that was my first experience with it. And then when I went back and reread this, I was oh shit, that's that book that I had.
Oh, cool.
that notorious Aliens book. And back then they were originally in black and white. I think they've since colored them, and I think it's a huge improvement.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't always say that, but in terms of this, where 90% of the characters are generic white scientists or military guys, it really helps differentiate who the hell anyone is. So I think Marvel is collecting this in that omnibus too.
Okay.
This is what kicks it off, I guess. So.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it. That was one I was on the fence, do I need this? And then rereading it again and knowing that's got these sweet Space Marine comics, I'm oh, that's a day one buy for me now. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of Aliens.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet.
Nah, hardly.
No. There's also, just a couple years later, the highly regarded series featuring the original, and first of many after that, crossovers of the sci-fi titans, Alien versus Predator.
Yeah.
You've heard of this, right?
I've dabbled in it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, full disclosure, I didn't read all this. I was just kind of looking through Alien stuff. I'm oh, I've always heard this is a good one. I started flipping through. I was oh, actually, this is quite good. I was almost shocked by how well written it was. But as I was going, I was this is really long, and I've already got so many Alien things. So we'll cover that later. Whenever it's Predator week, we'll do Predator, and we'll rope this in. But it was interesting. It was better than I thought it had any right to.
Okay.
And I was also surprised how many things from that terrible Alien versus Predator movie were from this.
Which one?
Any of them. The first one, I guess.
Okay.
The Paul Anderson one.
Okay.
The queen being enslaved to shoot out eggs so the predators could hunt them for sport.
Okay.
That's from this.
Okay.
And also the sole surviving female member of the team teaming up with the predators and becoming a hunter and being enlisted into their tribe and getting marked.
Okay.
That's from this.
Okay.
It's oh, I didn't realize it was an actual kind of adaptation. I thought it was just people like Aliens and Predator shit something out and they'll pay for it.
Toys just crash them into each other.
Pretty much. The aliens were everywhere at that point. What really blew my mind looking back was how many big non-Dark Horse properties involved them as well. For some reason, DC jumped on the Alien bandwagon.
Yeah, they did.
And I remember as a kid looking through Wizard and seeing Batman versus aliens and Superman versus aliens.
Yeah.
And it just washed over me.
Right.
But now having forgotten that existed and looking back, and I was they did what? They seriously Superman fought the aliens?
Yeah.
And I went back and read the Batman versus the Aliens, and that is a weird book.
It's been a while, but I remember reading at least snippets of either Batman or Superman versus Aliens, and it just feels it doesn't quite mesh.
No. It does not.
I don't even remember what even sparked my... Probably just because, like, this can't be good.
Yeah. Better check it out.
Feels like, yeah, it's just a quick little cash grab. You want to see these two properties fight each other? This might be the only time it'll happen.
Yeah. I wonder, like, who came to who with that idea?
No
idea. Yeah. The Batman versus Alien one, which was the only one I read. There's two of them, apparently, both by the same team. Bernie Wrightson illustrated it.
Okay.
And it looks great.
Okay.
But it's like, but why? You know? And it kicks off with Batman, like, parachuting into South America and trekking through the rainforest to find a crashed ship that landed in, like, these Mayan ruins. And he meets this other, like, squad of people.
Uh-huh.
And then it just becomes an alien story, like any other alien story, but with Batman. But one of the team is dressed as a bat. Otherwise, it just plays out exactly like every other Aliens. Like, they need it for science and weaponry, you know?
Yeah.
And then Batman catches wind of that, and he has to stop them. But it just... Batman has never looked as out of place as trekking through a rainforest in his full costume. Of all the things to just have a problem with, that was the thing that took me out of it, where I'm like,
you don't have jungle gear?
He'd be so hot in that!
Just a cowl, but with cargo shorts?
Yes!
Speaking of, with DC properties...
Yeah.
They also, the aliens I'm speaking of, fought against a team in the Wildstorm sector of DC.
They almost shut down the Wildstorm sector.
Boy, did they. So there is, and you told me this, which surprised the shit out of me.
Yeah.
That Stormwatch.
The Warren Ellis penned series.
Stormwatch met with the aliens, and in any other, if you're reading upon this, they'll just say an alien race.
Yeah.
But it was... aliens.
Yes.
Like, it was the franchise Aliens that wiped out almost all of Stormwatch.
Yeah.
In a Wildcats book.
Yeah.
Their deaths were so inconsequential because they were all almost off screen.
Yeah.
And it was just a Wildcats book, and then it ends, and then the follow-up Stormwatch book is pretty much... everybody getting revved up for Authority, which is happening, like, in a month, and then Stormwatch, like, Volume 1 is done.
Yeah.
It is over. It is not good.
No, not at all.
And I thought it was in Stormwatch, so I bought all of Stormwatch to flip through it.
Great. Well, we can watch we can read Stormwatch sometime.
Yeah, we could.
I've been wanting to.
I heard some people say it's fine.
Yeah.
So
one of our
I'll be
Discord
into that.
members, one of our friends of the show, just read it all. He said it was very interesting.
Okay.
He said it gets better being Stormwatch, gets better into Authority, gets better into Planetary, which I guess we already knew, but I'm still interested
We're gonna
in the
work
seeds.
backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, this idea of the alien crossover was just, like, dropped on Warren Ellis's lap by editorial, and they're like, yeah, you gotta do this. And he's just like, that's dumb. And they're like, well, you could kill off anybody and then relaunch the book however you want. And he's like, oh, okay. So when I said Sam Keith phoned something in, maybe that was a disservice by how much Warren Ellis phoned in this book.
It is
a one-shot where all of this happens and then it's done. There's nothing preceding it and nothing after it.
Nope, it is pretty bad.
Like, remember the alien invasion? Nope. Oh yeah, me neither.
You know what would make me mad, though, going back and reading Stormwatch, is getting to know all these characters, and then they die so poorly, off-screen, off-panel, and then the series ends. Because I read the follow-up to it, too, thinking, like, they'll have to talk about...
They would have to,
like, do some sort of crossover to this. Nope. They were just like, yeah, they're not going to make it back, I guess.
It would be like reading Ultimatum without all the gratuitous violence. It's just literally... well, they're all dead.
Yep, moving on.
Yep.
That's it.
It was astonishing how unremarkable this is. That, like, it's barely even worth criticizing. There's just nothing of interest in it. The most interesting thing is the fact that when they were making the covers for this, they hired Gil Kane to draw I think a variant cover for it.
Okay.
And they said, like, we need a Stormwatch crew member fighting an alien. And he went and he drew a Stormwatch team member fighting a generic alien that he created right there on the spot. And turned it in, and they were like, no, like an alien from the movie Aliens. And I love that it got that far and nobody decided to question it or verify or anything. But you can find the original like sketch he did, and it's this goofy like sci-fi monster that looks like it came out of the 50s.
I love it.
And apparently Kevin Nolan, who inked it, they paid him double to rush in there and draw the actual xenomorph alien in to hit the deadline.
Listen, you're inking it. It's a lot of black. Just go in there and make the alien, right?
So maybe there's nothing that sums up that crossover more than that story about how they contracted the cover.
Wow.
Talk about just like throwing something in out of nowhere for no reason and not giving a shit about the results whatsoever. So here's the question I have. All these dark horse sci-fi properties like Aliens and Predator, they've all crossed over with DC multiple times, like with varying results. I've heard the Predator versus Batman is quite fun, and I want to read that. But now that Marvel owns the rights, are these just lost to the sands of time? Like,
oh, yeah, I don't know.
Because, like, if you're listening to this and being like, I need to track some of these down, good fucking luck. They're all... You will be paying astronomical prices through, like, a third party, because they're all out of print now. They don't have the rights, so until Marvel reprints them, they're done. And I don't think Marvel could reprint, like, DC shit, so, like, I have no idea. Like, you might never be able to find these.
You know what? That's a shame that... If, like, let's just say another Aliens movie comes out pretty soon, right? People are gonna be looking up, like, fun stuff. And if they can't find it, they're gonna pirate it.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, just put it out so people give you money. Yeah, like, I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, like, you're literally not getting anything right now. Just split it.
Right?
You're getting half of what you would not have anything of. So with all that out of the way, big movie continuations, adaptations, giant company crossovers, let's go on to just some more original Alien content.
Okay.
And one of them is a fairly highly regarded book, Aliens Salvation, written by Dave Gibbons of Watchmen fame, the artist of Watchmen, and illustrated by our friend of the show. He's not really. He's indifferent to the show, I'm sure. But a fan favorite of ours, Mike Mignola.
Yeah.
And this is just, it's another story about aliens being shipped around for military purposes.
Nefarious purposes.
Right. It crashes, and a guy has to basically survive on this, like, tropical planet while the aliens are...
Is it fully wooded?
There is some wood.
Okay.
I think there's some deciduous
okay.
trees.
All right. Oh, I see some foliage there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope. Nothing coniferous.
All right.
I can't think of any more tree-related things.
Pretty much.
That's all I got.
You got the good...
I mean, it's early Mignola, fairly early, so I love this stage of his artwork. I mean, I like all of his artwork, but this is before he really started whittling things down.
Right.
The dialogue is a bit choppy. You know, it's fine. You know,
the art in it is spectacular.
Yes. I'm not gonna say anything bad about the guy that gave us Watchmen, or at least half of Watchmen.
Yeah.
But it could use a little touch up.
Yeah.
It revolves around a Christian missionary type guy who is just spouting scripture through the entire thing.
Fun.
And if there's one thing I hate to read more than pseudo-military and science gobbledygook, it's people spouting scripture. But somehow it's worth a read. It's quick. It's got some twists. It's got your android trope thrown in there. And it's just a fun little original alien story. People say it's one of the best, which I'm not saying this is bad, but it just shows how not great a lot of other alien stories out there might be. The other one we talked about, quite possibly one of the newer alien stories, is Dead Orbit.
Yeah.
Coming completely from James Stokoe. Is that how you'd say it?
Yep. You got that one right.
I did it. There's even an E on the end to really throw me for a loop. So, Troy, what'd you think of this one?
I don't think I've ever read anything from James Stokoe that I'm familiar with, but his art in this is really fun, kind of a little bouncy, cartoony, but highly detailed.
Yeah. In
a way that almost like Chris Burnham quite a bit.
Yeah.
But as alien stories go, it's pretty generic. As there's these space miners or whatever's going on. I don't even know what they're really doing.
They weren't scientists, so I was on board. They didn't know shit about science because they let those people in the cryo tubes just roast when they try to get them out. I love that aspect. I thought that was a cool little thing he brought to it. They stumble on some cargo, some people in the tubes, and like they try to get them out, something goes wrong, and they just like burn alive, except they do live, so they're just in horrible pain through the whole thing.
They come across a big vessel, which they're not answering. Which in this universe, shouldn't there have been like a memo at that point? If you come across something that nobody answers, don't go in it.
Earth's closed, and watch out for aliens.
For Christ's sake. Anyway, they go in it. They burn these two people.
Yep. It's the only way to be sure.
I don't know. Quite by accident, I'm sure. But they smash the tubes open. They're horribly burned, so they can't even say, like, oh, there's...
Alien inside, don't open.
Yeah, for real. Turns out aliens were inside. They gotten the twins.
Yep.
Busts out of them. And, alien... You can fill in the rest. Like, it's
I'm sure there was some science in there.
there was...
I wish there wasn't, but I bet there was a little bit.
Yeah.
I love his art style.
Yeah, same.
On first glance, it's masterful. When I look a little deeper, his expressions bug me. They're a little too cartoony for my taste. But otherwise, like, it reminds me of Jeff Darrow. Like, in the highest regard there. Yeah. Like, so much detail on just like the environment, the surroundings.
I think he's got a variant cover Jeff Darrow does in the back. It's like the most stripped down Jeff Darrow cover ever, but he's got one.
When do you need this by? Get Kevin Nolan on the phone. I may have drawn a Predator. So you saying that this is the most, it follows the generic alien tropes. I would completely agree. However, I think he tries to flip this on its head a little bit by presenting it in the most unorganized, unchronological way possible. So you have no fucking idea when anything is happening in this. This bugged the shit out of me.
You told me that before I got to read it, and I didn't find it that jarring. But it... I'll let me finish.
Yep.
I'll let you have your feelings for a second.
Go.
But it is 4 issues, but I have no idea where those issue breaks are.
No, I don't know.
It's gotta be, because it's just one continuous told story. There's no issue break in it at all.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for it just to be like, I'm gonna have a stopping point, get myself a snack,
There's one. There's a break.
Big splash page.
Yep. I remember it because I bought the first issue of this.
And then what really bugged me the most is like at one point in the story, I realized there's just a lot of hook, hoof. That's half the dialogue in this. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah. It's like, it is intentionally out of order and disorganized. I get that. Like, Pulp Fiction. Yeah, it works. It works in some cases. In this one, it like doubled down on that to the point where like an issue break happens and then suddenly you're in a completely different location. You don't know how they got there, what happened, and then it flips back to what it was. Like, as I'm describing it, you're probably like, Dave, it's not that fucking hard.
Yeah,
like,
to me, I don't think it is that fucking hard. But I rolled with the punches.
All right. I remember reading this at night, and like I was almost like drifting off to sleep as I was wrapping it up. I'm like, I'm gonna get this done.
Yeah.
And then I got to the end of it, and I was like, so what? Like, how did that all play out? And then I was like, I need to just like look up a quick synopsis of this. And I went through this rabbit hole of like finding out what actually happened, and then I had to like pull up the book again, and I was like looking and checking it out, and I was getting angry, and then by the time I was done, I was wide awake, and I was like, fuck this book. Fuck this book and fuck James Stokoe.
I didn't find the book that engrossing that I needed to go down a wiki rabbit hole.
I didn't either. It was for my own peace of mind. I was like, am I missing something here?
Well, it sounds like it really worked.
It made me lose my mind. One interesting thing, at the end of this, it collects James's pages from his initial pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I looked through those.
Which I think look more interesting than what we got, actually.
I don't know. It looked to me like it's
marine stuff.
Yeah. Which I think is my personal least favorite. So, if you watch Aliens and you watch Avatar, the Marines are interchangeable in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
And the first time I actually saw Aliens all the way through, I'm just like, this is very... James Cameron is a one-note Marine.
Yep.
Yeah, so, like, that bothered me. So,
yeah,
like,
I can see coming into Aliens late in your life, it would have that effect. And it did. Yeah, when I watched it most recently, I think for your show, a little bit of that shine had worn off, but it's still... Like, I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 every time, just for the effect it had on me in my youth. So that's it, Troy. Holy Jesus. Felt like I just watched the quadrilogy.
Wow.
Both cuts of Alien 3.
Oh, Jesus.
But I fast-forwarded through a lot of Alien Resurrection, so it evened out.
That's good.
So what do you think? What comes next for this franchise?
Well, as we said before, Marvel has picked up the rights.
Did they?
They have. One issue I have read.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if...
I think the second one comes out next week as of recording this. So
okay.
We're going to be a little late on that, but we are, as we've announced, premiering this on Aliens Day. So
you're welcome.
Yes. I, too, have read the first issue of that.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like Aliens.
Yep. Thank God. I was going to say, wasn't necessarily impressed.
Nope.
The father-son dynamic in it is interesting me to...
Yeah, I thought that was the most interesting
pick it
part.
up again.
Yeah. So it kind of follows a Marine or something that had an encounter with some aliens.
Yeah.
Didn't realize Earth was closed at that point, I guess. Went in after hours, ran into some bad aliens, escaped with his life, and his son is kind of grown up to be kind of like a new age, like...
anti-establishment.
Yeah. And he's like, Dad, fuck you and your alien stories. I'm gonna set the world right, show you what's really happening in these science labs.
Yeah.
And they unleash some aliens.
Yeah, they really done did it this time.
Pretty bad case of aliens. So it's early.
Double closed.
Yeah. It's only the first issue. We don't know what else is coming, but so far seems about like what we've gotten for the last 30 years.
Yes, yeah.
I would like when I heard Marvel was getting it. It's a little bit of a downer because this is a franchise that feels at home at Dark Horse.
Yeah.
However, we just talked about like 100 Aliens books that are all essentially the same.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Aliens have been super, like, cutting edge or relevant for the last 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. So, like, if Marvel wants to breathe some fresh air into this, do something different with it, cool, go for it. I don't think Dark Horse is doing a ton new with it. They're just kind of status quo aliens. People like their aliens. I imagine most people buying it are just buying it because they've always bought Aliens and they're Aliens fans.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, like, what are good Aliens books, like, that we've missed here?
Yeah.
What would turn us around? What isn't what we just described like 5 times?
So, like, I was thinking about this earlier today, and I think you're kind of hosed if you want to make an Aliens book. Because if it's not, like, your run-of-the-mill Alien stuff, it's people like, what is this?
Yeah.
But if you try something different, and it isn't Alien versus Predator or something, then it's like... What are you doing?
Where's Predator?
Yeah, it's like...
Is he coming later?
What are you trying to do here? This isn't Aliens.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think you're kind of screwed.
I think so, too. I think everything we've talked about Aliens has put the writer and the reader in a situation where, like, they're just screwed either way. Like, Aliens is Aliens, and it doesn't really have a whole lot of room to wiggle out of that mold. I can't imagine that Marvel is going to make them, like, pop up in Guardians of the Galaxy or something, but they fought fucking Batman and Superman. So it wouldn't be the weirdest, most out-of-place scenario that they could find themselves in.
Right.
The problem would be that, like, if they just became, like, a generic Marvel alien villain, that really kind of, like, loses the edge of the alien
they already
franchise.
have, like, the Brood. That's pretty close.
They are essentially Marvel's aliens. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't have super high hopes. We probably won't return for another Aliens episode to see how this all panned out.
Yeah, we tried to knock it all out.
We did it all. Turns out wasn't that hard. But I guess that's it, you know, unless we hear that they really shook it up. But I guess we'll be expecting more of the same out of the Aliens franchise.
I'm actually relieved now that we're
done with it.
nearing. No, well, yes, but I'm actually relieved nearing the end of this episode that we both come to terms like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, this is what it is.
It is.
Because I came in here almost fearing that I would say something like a hot take to you, and you're like, shut the fuck up, get out of here.
Did you hear my manifesto about my youth?
But yeah, I just think...
Have you seen my trinkets and treasures?
I've been looking at all your trinkets and toys. But yeah, aliens
if
are...
I hadn't lost the rocket that Corporal Hicks shot from his bazooka that he never had in the movie, I would blind you.
Aliens are a great visual masterpiece.
Yes. Awesome character design. One and done.
Yep.
You know? Like, let's not overstay the welcome with them.
Right.
It's like Jaws.
It's like Jaws.
How many places can Jaws wind up?
Yeah. What? How many movies of Jaws was there? Like 4?
Yeah, there's more than you needed. But after that first one, I mean, that settles the case. It's like, yeah, you don't go in the water anymore.
That's right.
You close Earth, and you're done. The alien problem is solved.
Then you gotta worry about Sharknadoes.
Oh my god.
They can get you anywhere, you know?
Well, until Marvel acquires the rights to that, and they face off against the aliens, and the Predator, Terminator, and RoboCop, we have been Imperius Rex.
Yes.
He's been Troy to the Max Extreme.
Yep.
I've been Ghost Hunter Dave. Happy Aliens Day, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.